Hey guys, thanks for dropping by. This is Mad Skills. I'm giving an honest review of the ELEC series NVR, DVR series for home. These products are very affordable. They are made overseas, and unfortunately the support for them is not that helpful. The documentation that comes with them obviously translated between English and Cantonese or Japanese or Chinese. There's a lot that gets lost in the translations, and some of the vendors that sell these products to the U.S., they can be difficult to work with for support because of the challenge between the translations. That's just human nature. I'm not here to blame them for that. They have taken an open source product and tailored it to meet an affordable market, and that market happens to be what I found that I needed. So this is my honest review of it. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to comment or reach out to me. You can leave a like. Don't worry about a subscription because I don't put out very much information often. Because of my field, I've been in IT for greater than 35 years, started out in telecom. I just have a nature to try to help people, especially when it comes to the technology, and try to translate from all the acronyms that you may read. It is second nature for me to figure these things out. Like most men, I won't even ask for directions, but hopefully this will help you in your decision to either purchase this, purchase one like it, or simply set it up and get it functioning to the way that you really, really like. So what I'm going to show you is on a Windows XP machine. I do that because I have a virtual machine and I don't want to reveal all my personal documents and things like that. So this one works best with Internet Explorer, and as a result, there is a lot of trouble trying to set it up on Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 10. You can get it working, but I would recommend that you would reach out to an IT professional to get the settings on how to get it to function under those environments. Because this device does not use certificates properly, it does give challenges when trying to remote into it and manage it via an Internet Explorer. But just wanted to let you know. Sit back, and if I bore you too much, I apologize. It is in my nature. Feel free to change the channel. And this is an honest review from Mad Skills. All right, the first thing we want to do is to set up how the device records, as well as how it plays, and how to export the files. So those are the three areas that I'm going to do to cover the review on this device. First off, the software itself is a new graphical user interface. It's a little bit different from the older ones that I'm used to, but it still has the same functionality. So even though this review is for the ELEC, most of the settings apply for just about all of the NVR DVRs out there that support this specific resolution. So let's get right into it. So from the web interface, I'm going to choose which cameras are broadcasting to which areas. And I do that by selecting the area and then pressing the play next to the camera icon, and it'll start feeding from those cameras. So that's kind of a real quick view to check to see if your cameras are working. But in a minute, we're going to go over codecs. And codecs are important because codecs is the language in how much resolution something is recorded in and the quality in which you're watching it remotely. So if you're watching it on your television, your computer, or your cell phone, you're going to be upset with the quality of it. But don't let that mislead you. That's not what it's recording in. That's just simply what it's playing it back in. So if I pick on my van here, you'll notice it's very pixelated. It's not great quality. But I do have it turned up to the maximum for remote viewing, and we'll jump right into how that works. So click on Device Config, and then from there, when it comes up, we're going to go into System, and we'll click on Encode. Encode has two options. It is what do I record on the input channel, and what do I record or set the display, the remote display for. So the left side here, and it doesn't say this, but the left side is which camera on which channel, and what compression ratio I'm using, and what resolution I'm recording in. Right now I've got it set for 928 by 480, which is the highest for recording. And on the right side is my remote viewing options. Television, your cell phone, or your Internet Explorer browser. So I have this set, if you notice 352 by 240 is the highest available. And basically you just want to set that up so that you know you're recording in the highest resolution possible for your camera. Not all cameras support these higher resolutions, so if you're not getting any video, you may want to drop it down a little bit to a compatible setting. So that's what these are used for, and that's the codec section of the device management. Now once you have this set, and if your cameras are all the same, you can simply choose all, and then just set the settings for all of them, and then press OK, and it will write to the device and set the settings. Now that we've got those settings set up for how to decode the screen and record it, now we're going to get into two major settings. What do I want it to record and when? And how do I want it to record? And if I have an incident that I need to respond to, how do I get the video out of the NVR in a format that's playable on most devices, such as Windows 10 or a cell phone? So right off the bat, I'm going to jump into the record setting, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to actually set up my recording options for each one of my channels. If you'll notice, you have the all button here as well. And I like to set it for detect mode. You can set it for regular, which is pretty much 24-hour recording, but I like to set it for detect alarm mode, and that's what it really should say. It should say detect alarm. We'll get into that in a second. And this is obviously weak, start, stop, things like that, but I'm not going to go into that. That's for reboots, and that's in some advanced options. We're not going to get into that. But I am going to say that I do want it to record 24 hours a day when it has a detect condition. I want it to record for 10 minutes, and I want to try to keep 5 seconds of pre-record before it actually detected the motion. So that's how I have it set up. I'm going to write it to all the cameras by pressing OK. And once that setting is saved, then that successfully puts that same setting on every one of your cameras. So we've told it how to record. Now we're going to tell it what to record. As you remember from the beginning, I talked about setting it to record only for alerts or alarms. And that's where we're going to get into the alarm settings. And we're going to set up how it detects an alert condition. So we can go into video motion, and we can choose one or all, and I'm just going to choose all. The only time you wouldn't choose all is if it's a camera that's in a key area, and we'll talk about that in a second, what happens when it detects an alarm. So in this case, I have to enable it. By default, it is not enabled, so a lot of people have problems getting it to work. You have to enable the alert or the condition. In this case, we're doing motion. So I'm going to turn on the motion detection. I'm going to set its sensitivity. Now, if I have a camera that's got a lot of insects flying around, I might want to turn it down. And then I want to say what happens after I detect motion. Do I start recording on all cameras or just a few cameras? Now, you know where you placed your cameras. If you detect motion in your driveway, you don't necessarily want to turn on a camera that's in your baby's room. But if you detect a motion in your hallway, then you want to turn on all your interior cameras and things like that. Now, the region is important because setting the region, you want to get to the individual channel. You don't want to do it for all of them. But we'll go into that here in a second. Once I have my conditions, and in my case all my cameras are outside, I do want them to record for a minimum of 10 minutes, which we set on the other screen. And I want them to record on all the cameras that I've selected here if the action takes place. As you'll notice, you can also set, if an alert happens or a condition happens, it can send an email. You have to set up the email settings and then port forward and allow those email settings through your firewall to get out to the internet. I'm not keen on that because I don't like the security of the device. That's part of my review. It's an honest review. I do not like the security built into the device, but we'll cover that in a minute. So show message means pop up on the screen and say, hey, I detected motion on a camera. I can also turn on the buzzer. That can be very annoying every time an insect flies by and you have your sensitivity set too low. So not a big fan of that as well. So once we have all that, we just press OK. It's going to save the configurations. But let's talk about that alarmed video motion again. We're going to go back in here. We're going to pick on an individual camera. This one's my driveway. So I'm going to set the region. Region's important because you're going to tell it where to pick up motion at. If it's all blue, it's picking up motion from the entire screen. But you can turn off sections of your screen that you don't want to pick up motion from. Simply by dragging or dropping, leaving the blue area as that's the area I want motion from. Click OK, and it will apply it to that specific camera. I'm going to hit cancel because I've already got mine set up to detect everything. Okay, let's talk about security of the device. Some people worry about buying these NVRs or DVRs from overseas and having these devices be a backdoor into your home network, and if somebody can come in and plant a virus or plant some kind of software that will give them access to your devices. It's quite possible. We can't control what's developed overseas. This particular type of DVR or NVR built by a lot of manufacturers is built on an open source platform. So you have a lot of people who will develop something and market it and try to do the right thing, but who's to say everybody does the right thing? So right off the bat, I'm not happy with the security on the device, and I'll tell you why. When I get into advanced and I go into account management, there are 3 accounts on the device: admin, default, and I believe user. I'm not going to bring it up because you'll see my accounts. Those 3 accounts that came with it, you can't get rid of them. They are built into the operating system. And the problem with that is that they use a 5-character password. So very easy to crack. 5 letters with a computer algorithm doesn't take long to crack that password. And not to mention if there's an additional backdoor password that they could come into. So because of that, I have to give it a very low score on security. If you really want to make sure that you're protected, I advise set it up, get it set up on your local LAN, have an IT administrator that knows routing, set up rules to where this device cannot talk to the internet. Or if anything, like I have mine, it can talk to the internet, but it can only talk to cell phones in North America registered with my carrier because I happen to know all their IPs. But that's where getting an IT pro or a network administrator who has a lot of experience with subnetting and routing can build special rules on your own private network to make it to where this device cannot be accessed from anything outside of a controlled environment. So when it comes to a score of 1 to 10, I give this a 1 on security because it uses less than 5 characters, and its SSL or its encryption is not the latest version. So a big flag on that. I don't know why they did it that way, but they could simply update their firmware to the device on the open source platform, and it would correct it for all of the devices around the world. But I'm just not a fan of it. I use enormous passwords to secure my network for a reason. I don't want everybody just accessing my devices remotely. So this particular device is set up to talk to the internet. It's controlled. But for a user that doesn't know how to do that, doesn't have the advantage of getting an IT network administrator involved, then simply do not connect it to your network. You can still use it with a television. You can still export video from the device with a thumb drive. So that's my review on the security of the device. Now we're going to get into how do we export video from the device, high resolution, when we have an incident. Say, for instance, you've seen the video that something has occurred and you want to get it out as evidence. Well, you have to go and set up how the device actually does that. So I'm going to close this out. You're going to have to click on the local config, and you have to click on system setting. You're going to need to check set local record as AVI. If you do not, you will not be able to play that file without a special software program. So set the local record as AVI. That's critical. Once you have that done, press apply, and you can also set the local snapshot as a JPEG. When you're done with that, then you can actually go back and click the playback, and if you've got it recording properly and you've set up all the conditions for playback, you can pick a camera, pick a date, pick a time, things like that. But in this case, I'm going to look at all the alerts for the 12th. I could actually go back and look at the 11th, things like that. Click on search. Look at all these files. Everything it detected motion on camera 1. Now I'm going to unselect all of them because I do not want to download all of those individual files. It would take forever. And I'm going to browse by double clicking what triggered the motion. As you can see in my driveway, somebody was driving by. I don't want that one. Oh, look at there. That's the one I want. There's my culprit. He's the one that did everything. So that's the one I want, number 28. I'm going to check it, and I'm going to hit download. And if you'll watch, A progress bar appears down at the bottom once you tell it where to download. I'm going to choose my documents. And it's going to show you that it's downloading that video file. If you have it set for AVI, it will give you the high resolution version of that. Notice the pixelization of the screen compared to what we're about to see when it comes to the quality of the video. So if I go back up in here and I look at my folders, I now have the video that I just exported. Let's see, I think it's this one. Yep. And the quality of it will be much better than what you were seeing on the screen just a few seconds ago. So that's how you set it up to export video to your computer. Or you can actually use the mouse with the device and a USB device, such as a thumb drive, and be able to export that out as well.